Hey guys, what's up? Today we're gonna take a look at the most expensive, or rather the rarest JRPGs currently for the PlayStation 3. And as usual, I'm not including special editions or limited editions or compilations or loose disc or sealed copies, only complete in box and with North American release. With that in mind, my friends, let's begin! Okay, let's start with Nier. Nier is my favorite RPG on the PlayStation 3. It also came out on the Xbox 360, but that version is cheaper than this one. Now, if you live in the US, you're probably wondering, why is this game on the list? I mean, that's a $20 game. And yes, you're right, according to price charting and even eBay, the game currently goes for around $20, $25 at max. For a used, complete in-box copy, good condition, mint condition. Let me tell you something. If you live in the US, you're kinda lucky because this version outside of the US is not that cheap. I mean, I live in Mexico, and this version, I haven't seen it for less than $30 to $35, maybe $40 range in my country. I think Canada is the same situation. When I was living in the UK 2 years ago, I clearly remember seeing this version for 25 pounds, I believe, which is the equivalent of 30 something dollars, right? So, okay, the difference is not that much. Everybody's got like a $10 difference from the US, but I guess since the PlayStation 3 is not exactly hot right now for collecting, people are kinda underestimating it. It hasn't gone up in price that much. I mean, it wasn't that expensive before, it was like a $10 to $15 game, but since Nier Automata came out and it was very successful, a lot of people began searching for the first Nier on the PlayStation 3 or on the Xbox 360, and since the best version to play this game, in my opinion, is the PS3, then the price went a little upper than usual. But if you see this version in the US for 20 bucks, man, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for. You should get that version. It's a really good game. In my opinion, it's a masterpiece. It's, in my opinion again, let me stress that out, better than Nier Automata. But if you live outside the US, man, you gotta consider yourself lucky if you find this game for less than $30. Now, we've got two guys here who have become quite popular over the past few years, and those are the Trails of Cold Steel games, 1 and 2 on the PlayStation 3. Sure, they also came out for the Vita, and they have been recently announced to be released physically for the PlayStation 4. That's awesome news! So I guess if the PlayStation 4 versions come out, maybe the PS3 versions will lower their price, maybe a little bit. Regardless, both of them are on the $30 range. Maybe they're a little more expensive in Europe, but I don't think so. It's the $30 range for these two games. I have seen it for a little less than that, maybe 25. Let's say they're on the range of $25 to $30 range. Not that expensive, right? I mean, they're affordable, and trust me, those $30 will be very well spent. I mean, these are two great games that I think everybody should play. So The Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2, both are around the $30 range, reasonable prices, get them while you still can. Moving on to Odin Sphere Yggdrasil for the PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita and PlayStation 4. Now, since this version was released when the PS4 was already out, the PS Vita as well, for many years actually, so a lot of people kinda went for those two versions, the Vita and the PS4, which are a little more expensive than the PS3 version, but that doesn't mean people weren't looking to collect the PS3 version, which goes for around, nowadays, $30 to $35. I mean, in my country, I haven't seen it for less than $35. Trust me, If I see this game for $30, and shut up and take my money, and I mean it. Because this version is not that hard to find in Mexico, but for less than $35, it's really hard. So yeah, Odin Sphere might be starting to go up in price little by little, but since there's the Vita version and the PS4 version, and they both look, I think, better than the PS3, my guess is that the PS3 version will either stay in that price or maybe go down, but will most likely go up in price, since the PS3 in a few years will start be considered as retro. That's right, believe it or not. Odin Sphere, $35. If you see it for that price, just get it. Because this game, my friends, is a masterpiece as well. One of the best action RPGs on the PS2 and on the PS3 as well. Let's move on to the Atelier series on the PS3. There are two trilogies. The Arland trilogy, which are games that are somewhat cheap nowadays. You can find them, each one of them, between $15 to $25. I mean, I think 25 for each one of these games it's a little expensive. So let's just say between 15 and 20 are reasonable prices for each one of them. However, the Dusk trilogy is slightly more expensive than that. Sure, the first game, Aisha, it's still in the $15 range, maybe a little bit less. Eska and Logi, however, I haven't seen that game for less than $25. In my country, it goes for no less than $30. But the stellar game in this spot in particular is Atelier Shelley. That game is the most expensive of the Dusk trilogy. You can't find that game currently for less than $30. It's on the $30 to $40 range. I mean, if you find this game for $30, consider yourself lucky and get that game for that price, because that's a really fair price. But the usual price, at least in my country, for a used copy complete in box, is no less than $40. I mean, a lot of people are selling this game maybe $35 if you're lucky, but $40 range, that's Atelier Shelley for you. And is it good? Yes. Is it worth your money? Trust me, it is. At least in my opinion, that is a really good game. I think the Dusk trilogy is far superior than the Arland trilogy, but they're quite different. The Dusk trilogy is more oriented to battle, to adventure, than to alchemy or synthesizing stuff. But still, they're great games, and Shelley has what I consider to be the best battle system in the entire series. I mean, it's totally worth it just because of the battle system, because it's just amazing. I mean, the battle system in Atelier Shelley is great, and it's highly addictive. It's highly addictive. The rest, the story, the characters, they're okay, I guess. They're not that big. They're good, that good, but nonetheless, you know, it's a pretty good game, and I will pay $30. Of course, if you want to go higher than that, there's the Arland trilogy, that's right. Atelier, Rorona, Meruru, and Totori for the price of $40. Maybe if you're lucky on eBay right now, you can find it for $35. So let's say it's on the $35 to $40 range. But I don't know, man, I wanted to show you the rarest, the most expensive JRPGs for the PlayStation 3. So counting compilations such as this, it's kinda cheap, but there you go. That's a $40 game nowadays. Little more expensive than Atelier Shelley. And if you want to go a little higher than that, there's a PAL version that only came out in Europe of Tales of Symphonia 1 and 2 and Tales of Graces. All those three games in one. And I haven't seen that game for less than $40, so if we're counting compilations, I guess this is the Holy Grail? Nope, it isn't. Here's Class of Heroes 2G, which was a very, very limited release on the PS3. Yes, on a physical copy, but only a few hundred of physical copies were made. All of them available only through the Canadian online shop Video Game Plus. This support from Class of Heroes 2 on the PSP, which was a Kickstarter. And it was localized by Gaijin Works. You know Gaijin Works? No, you don't? You probably don't. But I bet you know Working Designs, right? Remember that company? Well, after it died, the president, Victor Ireland, created Gaijin Works. Anyway, long story short, Clash of Heroes 2G is an extremely very limited release. So this is the holy grail. It's a turn-based RPG, dungeon crawling first person, and that's all I can say because I have no idea about this game. I have never played it. Obviously because I don't have $50 to spend on it. That's right, a physical copy for this game nowadays is no less than $50. So if you happen to have $50 and you want to spend them on this game, you will therefore have the holy grail of JRPGs on the PlayStation 3. I have yet another controversy here. Like I said on my Nier example, this is exactly the same case. Persona 5 on the PS3 by now is no less than $30, maybe $35 in Mexico. I think in the US it's like a $20 game nowadays, 20 to 25. I don't know how much this is in Canada or in the UK, but in Mexico this is rather expensive and rare. That's the correct term for it, and it's hard to find this particular version. The PS4 version is everywhere and it's on the $30-something range, but this one, it's hard to find. So maybe PS3 games like this are going to continue to go up in price each year, which leads me to the conclusion that the time to collect for the PS3, not just RPGs, but every kind of genre, is now. I mean, it began kind of like a couple of years ago. I mean, most of my games back here, I got them for like $10 to $20, and some of them have doubled up their prices, like $30 to $40 nowadays. So if you're looking to start collecting for the PS3, specifically JRPGs, right now you're still in time. It's a good time to collect for the PS3 because I strongly believe this year might just be the last good year for the PS3. Maybe starting 2020, some of these games are going to be like $10 or $20 more expensive, and maybe 2021 is going to be more and more. You know the drill. We've seen this happen with several other consoles, so I don't think the PS3 is going to be any exception. Time to collect for the PS3, my friends, is now. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time.